Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Uncensored Critic podcast. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. It means the world to me. Thank you very, very, very much. And today we have, yes, another member of the Prima Facie family from the international scene. By the way, it shows how far this play has gone and will continue to grow. And I'm joined today fresh from the Italian tour of Prima Facie, Melissa Vettore. Is that right?
Yes.
Melissa Vettore, yes. And there's a few Italian names in here. I'm going to get it right. So Melissa Vettore, and let's take a moment to introduce Melissa for anyone who is unfamiliar. So Melissa is an actress, journalist, and producer whose work expands way beyond acting and traditional plays to opera, working as a dramaturg, advertising, cinema, television, and workshops. Jumping from comedy to drama, working for company Campagnia Finzi Pasca, there we go. A company she has collaborated with from a young age since her time completing her theatre studies at the extremely prestigious Lee Strasberg Institute in New York, and also with José Sinisterra in Barcelona, as well as doing an internship with Campagnia Finzi Pasca in Lugano, Switzerland, a company she has toured several countries with since 2018, a group that uses resources of acrobatic movement and clown presence based on the theatre of caress, which was a concept developed by Daniele Finzi Pasca. Some of the most important things to her process as an actor are movement research, body expansion, and helping those develop hers and others with their interpretation of their roles or characters, whichever they may be. Workshops are both for training and professional actors, and during this time she acted as an assistant to the great director Elias Andreato, preparing actor Juca de Oliveira as King Lear, amongst many, many others. And also with Campagnia Finzi Pasca, she has joined the dynasty of actors performing Susie Miller's Prima Facie, which she has done in Italy and Switzerland, a play about the flaws in the legal system when it comes to women defending themselves in sexual assault cases, making the point that even now, as we speak, more still needs to be done and something has to change, but more on that a little bit later. Melissa, ciao.
Ciao. I'm so happy to be here.
Come stai?
Io sto bene, molto bene.
Molto bene, grazie.
I'm very glad to be here talking to you about Prima Facie and everything that comes around this theme. I'm so in love with everything that Susie Miller writes and thinks, so I'm very happy to exchange with you.
Yeah, no, we'll get more on that much later. We're going to continue the journey of Prima Facie on this show because it has a special place in my heart and, of course, amongst many, many others around the world, but more on that later. But we start at the beginning. So, Melissa, in your case, where did it come from? The love of acting, being in this business, being an artist, where did it come from?
Yeah, I think just other actors, and since I was a child. I always love it. And my mother, she always went to theater with me, presenting me ballet and shows in Brazil, because I was born there. Mm-hmm. So Brazil, you have lots of culture manifestations now. So we went a lot in theater. So since I was a child, I love it. And then I started studying it. And I was afraid with just as any young actress in the beginning if it could work out well. So I did also a university of journalism, so I could work with the two things if in case things didn't work well. Mm-hmm. But at the end, everything went well. So
yeah, that's what we like to hear. But what was your years of being a journalist or studying journalism? How was that?
It was nice because I think it helped me because I'm very interested from the projects from the beginning. I love idealizing what we would do next and always making these relations with other things. So it helped me. I worked just, I didn't work with as a journalist, just few projects because I started doing theater professionally right after I finished the university. So I didn't have time to study and things to work as a journalist. So I used it as an actress. So when I have to talk to producers and sell the project and build the folders everything. And I love to convince people that they should stay with us. And so it helps me anyway.
Yeah. Do you think like the journalism? I think it's funny, like because as actors now, I think when we go to the theatre to a show we're not in or something, or we watch a film or something, that I don't know about you, but do you find it hard to turn off the actor brain or everything, and then you watch that? Okay, are they engaging with the scene partner? Okay, how does this scene work? How did they? Or you think, okay, that landed really well. Or so, oh, why did they do it like that? I don't know. Does that part, and also coined with your journalism as well? I don't know if your area in journalism was looking at the arts specifically or anything in particular, but does that all still kick in when you go to the theatre or you watch something?
Yeah, I like, I mean, maybe it works for me as a producer. My journalist personality is, I see the project as the whole thing. So I want to know if the theme is like now we are talking about violence against women. So I try to find a sponsor that could help us, or either what's the audience, the main audience that would be interested on it. Everything related to the project, I think, helps me. And communication. I love it to communicate this and to learn many languages. It was a way for me to start concentrating myself in the different languages and countries. So it gives me information about the different cultures. So it's more this part of me.
Yeah. Is there one thing in particular that you saw, maybe whilst you were growing up, or maybe even recently, like a piece of theatre or a film that really inspired you to follow this path, or another thing which made you go, "I'm so proud to be an actor."
Yeah, I'm very proud to be an actor. I think it's a very special profession, even though it's so difficult in the beginning. I think to help people to dream and to reflect about life, the
Mm,
life we live, it's a very serious job.
mm,
And and I love teaching also. I don't do it often, and I also when I make some coaching with some actors. It's very particular moments when I love some project and I go to give my way, my point of view as an actress, because I was very interested when I was young
mm,
in the research of the acting.
mm.
So I love exchanging it. So when we build a project, I love also teaching something from this to young actors. So I have lots of interest. The main thing is always being an actress is the main thing. But I know that I can develop small things
Yeah,
in between and around that will make people together and
yeah,
this thing. But the journalism beginning because I wanted to talk about culture. I want to be there, and it was. But I was afraid when I was young that I couldn't do it as an actress because I have a one. My uncle, he was an opera singer in Brazil. He was Italian, and it was so. I always saw him, and I was incredible. The big theaters and all everything. But I said, maybe I won't arrive. So if I don't, I have to be close. So I did both things. I did the University of Theatre and the University of Journalism as well, insieme,
yeah. At the same time,
together,
yeah,
together.
yeah. I mean, I know it's just like two areas which I think actually, in one way or another, do sort of complement each other quite well because journalism talks about what's going on, and also art does the same thing. This is what's
Yeah.
going on,
Yes, exactly.
yeah, as well as what's happened and what could happen in the future, whatever the scenario is or the
Yeah.
subject.
But there's the difference. It's nice that you talk to that because that was my point. When I saw that I wouldn't be a journalist because things were going well, and then my to talk to people and to make them together, I have to go through the artistic language, which is very different from the language from a journalist that sometimes is very real. And then it's another big issue, when you arrive to the artistic language and so many ways to develop the theater, contemporary theater, then you have the classical theater, then you have music, dance, and it's a whole world that you can develop yourself as an actor.
Yeah, of course. I've also opera is a big part of your life as well. You mentioned there, you it's in the family, from Brazil and all that. I mean, what does opera mean to you as someone who's not an opera, fan who's been maybe once
The
or twice?
lyric, when we go to the like La Traviata, like La
Italiano.
Bohème, the big show with
Yeah.
you don't say opera in English. How
Oh
do you
yeah.
say?
Opera. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, opera.
Yeah.
So what was the question? I didn't get the question.
Okay. No, it's just that the fact opera's been part of the family for
Yeah.
your family
Okay.
for so long. What is it about opera that's just really stuck with you?
That made me.
Yeah.
No, it was because I remember my uncle. He had like blue eyes, and he was very European. And then he was doing a play that was an Indian,
Hmm.
uh, and it was so funny to see him totally different. And he had to die. And I remember we were small kids, and we were watching this tragical moment. And afterwards, we could see the fake thing that he has a go and fall.
Like a
And this,
little
this
bag of blood.
yes, it was so funny because we saw that and then this big moment, and afterwards was so like playing at home with my friends was the same. So I loved to develop these things, small scenes when I was young, was all the time playing to tell how to tell a story, because at the end is all about telling a story.
Yeah, I mean, and some of the most, I think, famous operas in the world, I think have been written with Italian libretto. You've got La Traviata, you've got Don Giovanni, you've got El Marriage di Figaro, or Marriage of Figaro, and have you seen some of those? They've been a part of your life watching those operas.
Yes, and then afterwards, Daniele, my husband, which is the director of the Campagnia Finzi Pasca and Prima Facie,
Hmm.
he was directing some operas, and I was participating even as an actress, because I don't sing at all, but we were working as actors to this Einstein on the Beach, which is a Bobby Wilson and Philip Glass play,
Hmm.
modern play. We did also Maria di Buenos Aires, which is a Piazzolla species tango, very beautiful. We also performed in this Ginebra theater in Switzerland.
Hmm.
So I also could participate of these big moments. It's so fantastic, and you have the orchestra and all the singers very tense, and it's another different word, but it's nice as well.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's of course, like the main sort of conductor. I think is Verdi, of course, isn't it? Verdi's
Mhm.
like your kind of like you say Italian opera. Some people say Verdi, or they say
Yeah.
Mozart. I know Mozart's not Italian, but he wrote in Italian. But I have to say, like you've got. I don't know. I've been to see Don Giovanni once at the Opera House in London, and it was just. I went in thinking I have no idea what to expect. I've never seen opera before. I don't know what we're trying to do here, but I was oddly just hooked the whole time. Yes, they had captions or subtitles at the top, so I knew what they were talking about. But it was just something about the sound of everything and the music and just the way that they were singing. It didn't feel like so some people think, oh, opera is a bit kind of off-putting because it's all kind of grand and it's like really high notes. Someone's going like raw in your face, but it takes you on a really nice, gentle journey. Sometimes, but that's when you've got good material, by the way, because with Mozart, But yeah, when you go to the opera? What do you look for? What do you like to see?
Yeah, when I was young, it was because my uncle was singing and it was so fantastic to see him. But it's just when nowadays is when we work. So when Daniele have to direct something, he did also Carmen
Mm.
in Napoli, and it's so beautiful to see the singers when they. It's nice to compare, the actors and the singers. How do they perform? Is different. They are so tense with the music, and they have to be sometimes brave actors, but sometimes if they go wrong, they will be killed. So they sort of try to play well the two things, both things. So it's nice to see the tension of that's in this big thing now, and in the chorus, and sometimes they are They're such a strong group, and also politically. So they have their rights very structured. It's a big word, and it's different. And I love also when we go to our theater and something smaller a little bit, and we can sometimes touch the audience in a different way.
Would you ever consider training for an opera singer now?
No.
No, never say never.
No, singing, never.
No.
But never, never. I performed as an actress. It was great, great in this Maria de Buenos Aires, which is a Piazzolla's piece. Amazing, amazing, amazing. If you like tango, and it's beautiful, beautiful production. And we went with all the acrobats and the dancers, because our company, we have actors, clowns, acrobats, and everything. And it was so interesting to be there. And I had I was the narrator, so I have to speak in Spanish. But it was very hard because it was it was like a poem,
Yeah.
very hard to memorize. I think it was harder than Prima Facie.
Harder than Prima Facie.
Yes, because Prima Facie is very hard, but Susie sort of makes you go forward the whole time. You want to go to the next page, and that was very. I mean, the poet would put words together so different. You never, I mean, very strong images. So you have to be inside the images to memorize so much. But for me, it was very hard. I was like, oh my God, it's the hardest things I did in my whole life.
And of course, you're learning a language. I suppose, that it is harder than learning Prima Facie because you're learning another language and all that stuff on top of that. And I just want to get this in for the record. For anyone who's not aware, Melissa speaks not only English and Italian, but French, Spanish, and Portuguese all in her canon as well. And we were talking before we came on. It's like, how do you do that? How did you remind me of someone can just say like a few words in Spanish to you, and language just sticks to you. You're one of those people. It just goes in here, whereas for a lot of us, we don't have the luxury of that gift. So how do you do it?
I think I met people that they knew more languages than me. So I think,
Really?
yeah. I mean, English, because everybody has to learn English, and you see sometimes I mixed when I am like performing in one language and speaking in another. I will make some. You see, now in our conversation, sometimes I will go whoops, because it's many languages. Inside, I have Portuguese. Now, if I call my family, I will speak Portuguese the whole time. But then I think sort of in Italian, sort of Spanish, sort of in Portuguese and Italian. With my husband, we speak Italian and sometimes Portuguese. And French, because sometimes the company, Finzi Pasca, we work in France, and they have to perform in French, which, as I told you, I don't speak as well as I speak Spanish or English or Italian. I'm still learning, but I can do it, and I love doing it because I love the sound of French. But the whole time in this company is like this, because now we are most Italians actors, but before we had people from Canada, from Spain, from Argentina, Brazil. So we speak it's so funny because you see here two people are speaking in Spanish, but here in Italian, and then someone comes and speaks in English. So for us, it's not that problem.
Yeah. It's just you hear the different sounds and everything, and I imagine it's like it's like learning a play or something. It's like rhythms and beats, and of course, there's different words as well. But you hear like certain words kind of like jump out a little bit more or some of that. I know I speak from a place of not being able to do this, but is it kind of like that? It's just like memorizing like beats and rhythms and just obviously the words on top of that as well. Does that help?
Sometimes, I mean, once we did in Russia, we were performing because we have a play that is called the Donka, which is about Chekhov in Daniele's way, which is very, he's a clown. and an actor, but he works from a clown point of view, so it's very original, the things he does. So when we were playing Donka, I had some lines that I said, okay, we are in Russia, I will do in Russian, three lines, but there I never knew how to do it well. So I would write the sound because I couldn't figure out how to write or read it. So this I do these special lines when you see you don't understand anything, but for me it means the sound. But in the others like Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, and English, I don't do it. And French, I know the meaning, even if I don't know. The nice thing is because you learn. When Prima Facie arrived, I call Prima Facie, no?
Yeah,
Prima,
yeah, yes, I know what you mean. I know what
Italian
you
is
mean.
Prima Facie. When it arrived, I learned so many new words that I didn't know because it was lots of terms from justice I never knew before. And also when I perform in French, I learned so much. You go a step forward when you have to memorize something that sometimes is higher than your level. So you get better.
Yeah, it's like you're always pushing yourself to learn more
Yeah.
things, and if you don't have that difficulty, you don't grow, or you don't,
In the beginning, you get desperate.
Oh yeah,
When the thing arrives, you look at it and said, "Oh my God!" But some actors they say that it's hard to find the meaning, your inside meaning. No, because sometimes you read a phrase as an actor, and if you want to go deeper and put yourself, and sometimes you are not used to that sound. Doesn't mean to you as if it were in your mother language. That's why I switch so much. And I find between, sometimes if in Italian is difficult for me, that phrase, I go to that phrase in English, and then I go to that phrase in Portuguese, and then I go to the Spanish. And then finally, I can feel it. So mine. It's a process.
right. In fact, you have all these languages at your disposal, a words there or a phrase in front of you, and you go, okay, what's that in Portuguese? Okay, what's that in
Yeah.
Italian? What's that in French? What's that in English? Oh, there we go. The fact you're able to do that is insane.
It's not.
It's
Could be worse.
it's brilliant, Melissa.
If it were German, it would be a lot difficult.
Okay, no, let's not go there.
They all are somehow similar. I mean,
Yeah.
Italian and French and Spanish and Portuguese. Then I think I go by association. If I find some word that means something to me because I know it in some of those languages, and then I go that way.
Yeah. It's like how similar is Spanish? And because some people there was a myth when I was in school saying Spanish and Italian are the same languages. Of course, they're not. They might be very similar, but how similar are they?
The structure is somehow similar. I mean, the way you make the past and the way you do the present, and I think from those three, Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian, French is more difficult because you don't read the way you say it. Italian, in that way, is so easy. Nothing is easy, but because
Nothing is easy.
nothing is easy, but you have to read and say the same thing you read. So if you have, for example, two consonants together, you have to read both. Then Portuguese is a little bit different because we don't do the past as French and Italians and Spanish do. We do more like English. We go like I went. In Portuguese, like eu fui. In Spanish, but for example, I did something. I did. No, I did. In Portuguese, eu fiz. But in Italian, ho fatto. You use an auxiliary. And also in French and also in Spanish. So once you learn one of these three or four, Portuguese, Spanish, French, and Italian, you get used to some structures. The
Yeah.
difficult in Italian, I think it's very, very difficult because they kicked out, I mean, the plural. They don't use the S at the end of the words. It is very hard for us because we all use in English, in Portuguese, in French, but they don't use. So they use a vowel like a E, and you can change from E or I if you want to make plural. And that's, for me, that's confusing.
Yeah.
Because lots of S sections could be like if you say mother and mothers.
Yeah.
Oh, easy.
Yeah.
One mother, two mothers. And in Portuguese and French. But for the Italians, una madre e madre, the plural without X, the S. And that's in Prima Facie is something that I suffer sometimes.
Be like, what does this word mean? Mothers. Yes. What does it mean?
I know what it means, but I said, why they took it out? It was so easy to say plural.
But, you get like, what is this word? I could see like if you're in rehearsal or someone says, you go, well, what does this phrase mean? You'd be like, oh, Melissa, just say the words. Just say the word. It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
No, at the beginning, I was like doing, as I told you, I was like getting closer to the text in this way, having the Portuguese version, the English in the middle as a base, and Italian. And because I couldn't believe that was, I mean, from English in Italian changes a lot. Because English, the nice thing I think of the English is that you can say something very easily. I mean, you don't need many words to explain. Just tell it. But and I was asking why in Italian the phrase, if you see the text, is like more pages, a lot more pages in Italian. And because they don't, Italian it's a very beautiful way of expressing yourself.
Oh, yeah.
They always say secondo me, like what I think. Secondo me.
Secondo me.
It's la oratoria. It's so beautiful. They are masters of explaining and talking to the others. Now they are something they are proud of. So they love writing and reading well. So you can't just make abbreviations. You can't.
Yeah. No, it was like a masterclass in languages. That was great.
I love it. I love it.
No, you need to teach me sometime. You need to teach me. But of course, you've got. Actually, no, we'll say that for a bit later. But I want to ask you about your time in the States. Of course, you're at the Lee Strasberg Institute as well, which is a highly prestigious school. But Lee Strasberg is one of the founding members of the method of such, along with Stanislavski and Stella Adler and Sanford Meisner, all in the same kind of group as such. But it all came from Stanislavski, and then it moved down to those three. But yeah, and it's distorted what method acting actually is. I've done a whole episode about this before, but method acting is not doing what Daniel Day-Lewis does. And no disrespect to the man, he's an incredible actor, and do what, if that helps him, by the grace of God, go and do it, man. You do fantastic work if you're listening. But it's not about going to live as the character so much. It's about sights, smells, tastes, sounds, or an image in your imagination, which helps you to become the character in a much more visceral kind of way and stuff like that. And I think Strasberg, I can't remember what his idea was, but it was all about relaxing and stuff. And there's some images of actors at the Strasberg Institute. He says, all right, I command your body to relax. And there's people literally on like slumped in chairs, not moving anything, because they're got to be totally and utterly relaxed. But anyway, you'll know more about it than I do. So yeah, how was your time there, Melissa?
I mean, you are explaining so well. I was remembering. I remember exactly what I did there. For me, it wasn't easy. If I had to be sincere, it wasn't easy.
Yeah, it's a tough training.
I was very critical at the beginning. But nowadays, I think it worked for me because I think I use it. Even when I was there, I was criticizing. I was criticizing so much the method, so much. But now, and I was talking to my husband the other day, and I think I'm very proud that I use it because it helps me by myself without, I don't need anything sometimes to be touched by the text. I mean, I don't need a special music or a special, and I think I learned from there this sort of sense memory. I don't go that far. I don't have to remember when I was somewhere that I saw something, that I touched something. But you get very sensible to suddenly get this emotion that you need. I will explain. The beginning, I just tell you that when
Yeah.
I was studying in Brazil, my theater school, which I am very proud of, because it was from Antunes Filho. He's a very known director in Brazil, and also some particular contemporaneous groups, like Peter Brook knows him very well. And this school I studied, they were teaching us very physical, diciamo, scusa, a volte
Okay.
they were teaching us very contemporaneous theater. So they talked about Peter Brook, they talked about George Steller, and in Italy they talked about Casuono. And then that when I was 19, 20 years old, I met also Daniele with his group, with this very physical language, everything artistic language. No, I was learning so much. I was having so many inputs. And then at that time, I want to go abroad to study. And I went first to New York to this Lee Strasberg, because I saw an interview with an actress and she was saying that was her dream. And I said, oh, maybe. I had finished the University of Journalism and Theatre, and then I said, okay. My dad helped me to go. And then I had a scholarship to go to Barcelona to study with Sinisterra, which is the writer of I Carmela, which is a movie, very nice movie, a Spanish movie. So when I arrived in New York, first I was so impressed with New York and everything, and
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
pretty good, many information, and when I arrived there, and I saw everybody doing exactly what you said, the relaxation, I said, "Oh my God,
You walk in.
what is it?
Yeah.
What is it?" Because we were all seated by ourselves with people around, but we weren't together, and we never touched a text in the beginning. It's only you with your own body, your own thoughts and sense. And this is a long time until you are allowed to perform with someone. So in the beginning, I was like, "Oh my God, it's so boring, so boring, so boring." This relaxation, but it's right that your the tension in your body is the thing that will disturb you. I mean, if you don't control yourself, if you don't learn how to get calm and dominate these feelings, you will be in trouble. So I understand now that why they were so concentrated on the relaxation. So you have to develop a way of calming down yourself, no? And when you have to, I feel it every night when I have to go, and I know that it's like 100, 700 people, 800 people. Now in Padova, there was like 800 people, and you are only you, one man show, one woman show. If you
Yeah.
don't get home in control of yourself, but then you started this saying things, and this you have to really make a journey, like when you were with your grandmother, and what's the smell. But finally, we got doing scenes together, and then I said, what's the exchange? Because I didn't see the exchanging.
Mm.
The two people were concentrated on their own sense memories. And I said, theater is about exchanging. Why we don't simply exchange? Why do I have to remember something that will took me out of this relationship?
Mm.
So I was criticizing because when you are doing an exercise with someone, the teacher asks you to keep doing your own exercise.
Mm.
And just you have to exchange the lines. But the most important thing is that you still stay in your mind doing the sense memory exercise. And my critic at that time, I was like, why don't we don't just exchange the lines and without doing this? It was I felt it was sort of selfish.
Mm.
And theater is about relationship.
Mm.
If
Yeah.
I never have to be worried, let's say, what I will say if I listen to you, because if you ask me something, I know what I want to tell you. It's the principle of the dialogue.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
said, why are they complicating this? So I was very critical. I met an actor, now he's a very famous actor, movie actor in Germany. He called Samuel Finzi, and he was also as me, like me, a little bit like, why are we doing this? But at the end, I love it because then I did there. You also do when the camera arrived.
Yeah.
We went to exercise in front of the camera. Then I realized that how I could use it. Because some people, they say the method is more useful if you do for movies and cinema. Because theater, somehow you exchange easily, but in the cinema sometimes they stop, they do cut.
Yeah.
And then when you start not from the beginning. Now you start from
You
where
can start in like three quarters or halfway, but it's non-linear as well.
you have to be ready.
Yeah.
We won't, and sometimes you are shooting in a house and you don't follow the sequence of the movie.
Mm.
You jump to all the scenes you do in that location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Go, sorry, carry on.
So it helps you so much in that way, because I remember I was doing a movie that I was losing my son. It was so tragical and terrible,
Wow.
but we didn't shoot the death of the boy, but we have to shoot the afterwards, the day after,
Yeah.
because we start shooting in this house. Every scene that we had in the house was like 2 days in that house, and then we would shoot the hospital scene and the accident scene. So you have to be ready.
Mm.
Uh, Anywhere the director decides to go, and then the method helps a lot, I think,
Mm.
because you warm yourself fastly, very fast way. You
Yeah.
go inside and you get some very sad story in yourself. But as you said, I don't think you always need to do it. I mean, you
Mm.
don't have to be in the forest to perform being in the forest.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you a story in a second, but I'm reminded of there's a very famous Scorsese film with called Gangs of New York. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not. And
Mhm.
of course, with Day-Lewis and DiCaprio and people, some very, very big, very, very big names. And there was a story that I remember Daniel Day-Lewis at the time was taking a break. He was actually making shoes in Italy for a time. Funnily enough, I think that's the story. Anyway, I don't know if it's true, but he was saying, "I'm done with acting. I'm not doing it anymore. I can't do it because my body's been through too much." Or he's just taking a break. And so they said, "No." Scorsese was like, "No, we've got to get Daniel. We've got to get Daniel for this." And he's like, "Okay." So he said to Leo, "Okay, you've got to go and convince him." Me? Yeah, you've got to go and convince him. I was like, okay. So he flew to New York and he met him and he's knocked on the door. There's no answer, so he knocked again. And then eventually the door opened. He goes, and here he was, Day-Lewis. And he said, "All right, hello." I was like, Daniel, should we go for a walk? It's a nice day. Yes, let's walk. and then they walked for about an hour and he didn't say a word to him. And then they sat on a park bench. And this is my recollection of the story anyway. But eventually they sat down and they talked about the film. And of course, and he said, eventually he said, yes, let's do it. Let's do it. I'll come back to acting. It's been a while. I miss it. And then they get on set one day, and of course, Bill the Butcher is this very kind of miserable, kind of like he's a power hungry guy. You know, he's very kind of like he doesn't say a lot because his ego is so big, and he's just. And some points he goes, "I am New York. Don't you never come in here empty handed again. You got to pay for the pleasure of my company." It's like who the hell is this guy? You know, this guy, he's a leader and he controls things. But anyway, that was his thing. And the point of the story is that Leo gets on set one day, and of course, and he goes, it says hello to everybody. He goes, "Hi everybody, you doing okay? You doing okay?" He gets to Daniel and he goes, "Hi Daniel." And at this point, he's in character. And he goes, "Hi Daniel." And he goes, It's like I was like, okay, okay, game on, here we go. But his philosophy that we know of anyway is that he's there. He keeps in that mode the whole time because that helps him. Whereas like, what was your experience of like being in that mode of like being like, oh my God, I'm in this mentality, this thought pattern, and suddenly goes cut. And you're like, and then suddenly you're like, you jumped out. You're like, whoa, okay, hang on a minute, what's that like?
I mean, it's so beautiful, this transition now between this state, this state of mind, this state of feelings that we have to go through, and then the transitions. I love the transition. Sometimes it shouldn't be painful. I think it shouldn't be. I don't like also sometimes when I'm doing a movie and sometimes arrives someone to prepare myself to help me to prepare the coaching and goes very realistic. I don't appreciate so much to do this because I don't think you have to suffer as well as the character. I mean you have the perfume, a drop. It's a drop. It's enough. It's enough to because you have to. I think acting is a lot about dominating yourself and sort of let it go and to drive the machine and you let it go and then you drive again. So you are blessed with this drop of thing that makes you sort of equilibrate thinking and feeling, and then you get again to see where you're going and if the light is okay and you are in the position and you are hearing well what they are telling you, and then you let it go again. So I know some actors we find in our lives, some actors that are blessed with some strange magical thing. But I love it when it finished also, and then I say, okay, I did it. And Prima Facie is so good for me because when it's finished, I want to go and just hug the audience. It's just like, oh, let's be together, and I love hearing what they have to say. I mean, it's. Okay, this Elias Andreato, which was my ex-director in Brazil, which I did Camille Claudel, Isadora Duncan, very strong also female characters. Camille Claudel was the wife of the lover of Rodin, the sculptor that did the thinker, the sculptor, the thinker.
Exactly.
Rodin is this sculpture so beautiful. And Camille Claudel was one of the first artists, female artists, as she was, and she was very passionate and very sort of crazy. And when I finished the show, Elias was helping me so much because she was not in prison, but she was isolated for 30 years and she couldn't make her work anymore. And it was a sad story, very sad story, because we have in Paris the Museum Rodin, and which there's a room dedicated to her, because she did many of Rodin's sculptures. She was doing the hands, and she was very important for his career. And instead, her career was so much. I mean, she dedicated a lot to him, and then at the end of her career, she got a little strange, and then she was isolated.
Mm.
It was very sad at the end. And my director, he told me, he was teaching me how to close it. I mean, it's finished. He was always like, when I was going out of the stage, he was like, "Oh, how is it? What do you want to eat tonight?" Like changing,
Yeah,
change.
just right.
Yeah,
You're done.
you did it, but it's not you. In somehow, it's not you. So what I loved, as I told you in the beginning, the method I was criticizing so much.
Mhm.
Because I thought in theater it's easier. Just hear what the other person is telling you, and that provokes you everything. I don't have to go that behind. But if you equilibrate, you can go a little bit in. What I don't call anymore go too much far, like in my grandma's house, because you don't have that time to get
Mm.
okay. If you made me a question, but wait a moment, I have to go to my grandmother's house to see the smell. How do I feel if I? But it gives you a training. You do faster. You just hear the line, and you just put something that emotions you together. And then I think nowadays I use it a lot. In
Mm.
Prima Facie, when I talk about the mother,
Mm.
I don't need anything.
Yeah. We said that the mother bit at the end. Yeah.
The mother, we have the second scene when she goes to the mother's house, and
Yeah.
then she sees the mother when she goes back to the
Yeah. Just like it's like before the trial and then after the trial, she sees her. Yeah.
yeah, and then after the trial, she's there. Many moments. She just says, "My mother's there, looking at me," and I think there's some sense memory for me.
Mm. Yeah. And the
For
thing.
anyone, if you say mother, comes something, no?
Oh yeah.
But there, I usually put my mother on the audience.
Mm.
And then people ask me, why do I get so emotional? And it's because for some people it's beautiful to see when I talk about the mother. And I think because there it is when I tell you, I don't think I use it, but I'm sure I use it.
Yeah.
This
And no,
memory.
no, it's important to make that because I think there's a actor over here. I don't know if you know Mark Rylance. Do you know who Mark Rylance is? Yeah, he's a very he's big stage actor over here. He did a lot of stuff at Shakespeare's Globe over here for a long time. He loves his Shakespeare, and
I think I know.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think I
Mark,
know.
Mark Rylance. He's
Mhm,
dabbled with films and stuff as well, so
mhm,
he's getting his
mhm,
name
mhm,
out there for
yeah.
sure. He did It was one of the first in recent times. They did an all male production of Twelfth Night at the Globe, so like throwing it
Mhm.
way back to before, when Shakespeare first started, females weren't allowed on stage at all. So that was like giving modern audiences a glimpse of what it was like. Yeah, and of course, very funny, very very well done. He was what part did he play? Oh no! So who does Malvolio fall in love with? Oh, God. Anyway, that's a story for another time. But what was I saying? Yeah, it's Mark Rylance. I've lost my train of thought. So yeah, Mark Rylance doing all that stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah, derobing at the end of the night. So I remember going to see him in a play one night, and he did his bows, and then at the end he did this to the audience. He got, for anyone who's listening, got his hands by his side and just went like that. He just, it's almost like, I'm giving this back to you. Like this is not for me to hold anymore tonight. I've done my bit, and
Mhm.
I thank you.
Beautiful.
I thank you for that. And there's another one, I've mentioned this on here a few times, but there's an actor called Richard Armitage. Do you know Richard Armitage? He was in The Hobbit, played Thorin in the Hobbit films.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mm.
Anyway, he's another fantastic actor. He's done a lot of Harlan Coben stuff on Netflix as well. And he did The Crucible. He played John Proctor. And at the end of the night, he said he got in the shower and washed all the stage blood off him, which was weirdly symbolic in some way. And he always had a thing of saying, "Thank you very much for coming back to me tonight. Okay, I don't need you anymore right now, but don't go too far because I need you tomorrow. But but thank you for coming to visit me again tonight." And it was like, yeah,
So beautiful.
that's it for tonight. And then he said he would go out the stage door, and then he would be meeting people. He'd be like, "Hi, great performance, loved it. Oh yeah, thank you very much. Have a picture, yeah, yeah." And he said, "But for somehow or another, even though I've derobed, I still hear voices in the distance, and I still hear things, and I still have an awareness. Like my receptors still haven't switched off yet, but I still have that."
I understand absolutely what you're saying.
Yeah, and yeah, it's because you don't want to take the part home with you. I don't think.
So beautiful, so beautiful.
Yeah.
Because you work to work out a lot and you train to have this sensibility, to arrive at this moment where you are in front of someone or many people, and you still are able to go in an introspection, to bring something and to share. And this sensibility stays a little bit in your skin, stays in your body. When you finish, that's why maybe I want to hug people. Maybe because it's my Latin Brazilian
Yeah.
way of exchanging. Also gratitude, because when Prima Facie finishes, as I told you, is such an emotion. And I received so much love from the audience. And when it finished, I'm still in this sensible
like
feeling.
like that sensitivity, or like you're in this
Yeah.
sensory
And
experience, yeah, with the
but
audience.
I have to make it concrete, not more anymore in my dreams, or I have to just hug people, just stay
Yeah.
together. I always say the women that want to talk to me or the men say, just stay close. Let's talk. I don't know. It's a way of making myself coming back to me. This thing we shared, and now this sense, this feeling that I'm still sharing. And then I said, no, now I have enough of that kind of feeling. Let's change it a little bit, but stay close. I
Yeah.
think it's the transition that we were talking about from one state to other. And when you do many times, I don't think you have to. I don't think for young actors, for example, that you have to take home this feeling because you get exhausted. It's not about it. I mean, as
Train
we
you, yeah.
told, some actors are blessed by something so special, and we respect them because we know they are incredible. But I don't think that you always have to do like this. There are many ways. The only thing I really think is that you have to dominate it's a lot about body also. A
Yeah.
lot. The training has to be a lot about dominating your body and letting your body make the join the game
Yeah.
because it changed. I know actors, British actors, they are so incredible actors, and you have always this the words. I think the words in the mouth of a British actor becomes it's like you just open the thoughts. It's the principle of speaking out whatever you feel. The characters is so becomes music. Sometimes when we are memorizing and saying, making it yours, it becomes sometimes artificial. And with British actors, it's never artificial because it's just like seems like they just open their thoughts. Now, and I love it. And we have to learn from them always, always.
Yeah. Yeah. We're either very subdued, or like, oh, don't mind me, or we just speak our mind, say, no, that's what happened. And it's either or. I think there is some blurring of lines. Of course, everyone's very different, but it's all about, yeah. Well, it's nice to hear. Thank you. And yeah, and I've just got to tell one quick exercise. We'll get on to prima facie in just a second, but I've got to,
Yeah.
just before we move off method, just for 1 second. As you mentioned there, Strasberg, relax and not allow any kind of tension in your body affect you in any way, from just being in present in this world, in this character's world. And I remember I've done an episode with Elam Orion on here as well, who was also at the same place with at the Strasberg Institute. Didn't study under Strasberg, but he was there when that training, well, still is very much a part of the American sort of theatre conscious, I think. But he talked about, he'd always say these things like, okay, so say to yourself now, I command my body to relax. And he would do these things. He would close his eyes and say, all right, now take your hands, you with your fingers, and just go over your eyebrows under here. Just allow your whole face just to relax. Get every single, not just like your under your eyes, your whole thing, your forehead, your scalp, or like when your hair or around your neck, everything. But command your whole body to just relax. And there is no sounds. There are no thoughts going, oh, what the fuck is this? Or what are we doing? This is ridiculous. Shh. It's not part of that at all.
Yeah.
And we were given an exercise where we said, okay, so we were given a scene where, so we've had to pretend we had a child. We had a young boy called Basti, or Basti, as however they say it in his accent, Basti. And he, something happens to him. He has an accident and he's taken off in an ambulance, and you're there in the hospital wing just making sure everything's going to be all right. And of course, there's a lot of noise and wires and people going like, it's like, we're like, keep pressure on there. Okay, pressure there. Beep, beep, beep. What's going on here? It's a big sensory experience being, we've watched films and watched documentaries about people going through, as we say in the UK, A&E, accident and emergency, where people were just there. And he said, okay, so before we get there, let's say, imagine you're in a hotel. Like you're in your favorite spot, you're in a hotel, you're away for a week, and it's just you, your girlfriend or your partner, boyfriend or whatever, and you're there, you're just having breakfast. We're like, okay, so just sit with that image now. You're there, you're probably having your favorite cooked breakfast, you're having bacon and eggs and some maple syrup or something, having a nice big cup of coffee, your girlfriend's got her nice breakfast, maybe she's having the same, or she's having a fruit salad, or she's having some pancakes or whatever, she's got her coffee. And you just look at Basti, and you see him having his breakfast. He's trying to get more off your plate, and you're going, no, you've got your own breakfast, son. So do you want some of Danny's breakfast? Do you want some of that? And you're creating this world of like, okay. And he said, I remember at one point he said, all right, just frizzle with his hair, tell him he's a good boy. What does his hair feel like? What's the texture? Is it long? Is it short? Just what's that? I mean, how are you feeling right now? What love do you have towards your son right there, right now? And then you're in like your imagination. Of course, the imagination tools that Strasberg and all these guys, Stella Adler, Sanford Meisner, it's just that you just go into your imagination and it's just limitless possibilities, and it's beautiful. And then just say, imagine you're going to like your like a landmark, and suddenly something happens. You see your child faint or something like that, and you're thinking, what's the first thing that comes into your head? I'm going, oh my God, like, where's my phone? And then suddenly you're there. You're in that moment, of course, and you're not allowing your voice to go, oh, you're not actually there. You're in another room. Shut up. Anyway, but, you're there in that moment, and suddenly all these feelings start coming up, and then you're there in the hospital and going, is he all right? So can someone please explain something to me? What's going on? Basti, are you okay? And then the next thing you're just, even now, it's like feeling all that again. It's that your imagination muscles just go crazy, and then suddenly you're able to get to that point. And then that's what I loved about it. And that was an experience. Yeah,
it's beautiful. It's like, I think many ways would take you somewhere. You have many ways. It depends a lot with the director you are working with. Because it's beautiful. I mean, in terms of training, it's so special to have all this experience. If you once do that, what we're telling so complex and so profound, you already have this experience, and then you can use it another time when you are on the set, and you understand what people are asking you to do. And all the actors directors are so physical. They want you do exactly what you are doing, but they will move the floor to take out your stability.
Yeah. And like
you
suddenly
know,
there is no safety net anymore. There's no that feeling of
no, so you
yeah.
still have to be able to go inside of you because something's, and I think you have, if you have something to follow that will, you remember always it's theater or it's cinema. I'm performing. I have to dominate my body. I have to know where, because it can go very profound. And suddenly, if suddenly an accident starts, the fire somewhere is starting to burn everything, and you have to get out. You can't stay there still doing your exercise because it's finished. I mean,
Mm,
so you have to be one eye inside, one eye outside to dominate. So I believe in this now. But I remember when I was doing the last movie I did, it was in Brazil,
yeah.
and I was working with a very special actor. I think he's one of these actors that you were mentioning, like Daniel Lewis, and he was always on the character.
Mm,
It was so hard sometimes because I wanted to talk about something else, and then we couldn't because he was so concentrated. But at the same time, actually, he was very silent. He wouldn't share anything with me because our as a couple we were getting separated, and he was experienced that he didn't talk to me when the opening. We have the movie, it was the opening, and then he finally we were like making the pictures and posing for the pictures, and he said, "Oh, I think it's the first time we are laughing together." I said, "Oh yes." I suffered a little bit because he was always in that state, so strange. But I learned a lot from him because we were getting ready to do a very difficult scene, and I spent you wait a lot, in the set, and I spent the whole time touching the feeling to see if it was there,
mm,
remembering things that could make me emotional, and I was like rum, rum, like a machine that was always checking the if it was there alive. Him instead, he was silent. And then when we start shooting with the camera, the director that was behind the camera did it, everybody, the whole team, and he was very, very. He was paying attention on the moment that was perfect, but not for him, but for the camera.
mm,
And I thought that was so clever because I could just try to do many times, but if the camera wasn't in the very best time,
mm,
it wouldn't be useful. So I think he was older than me, and he knew when exactly to just let it go, but for everybody. That was a
mm,
special moment for everybody. Instead, I was just checking myself, and he was paying his attention on the camera, because if the camera was because it was a traveling, all these people running and the traveling going, is very lots of movements, and he knew that because sometimes the director goes and said cut, it wasn't good for the camera
mm,
because there was a problem, there was something and instead it's good when it's good for the camera.
mm.
Yeah,
Interesting, yeah.
it's very. I mean, it's you have to go in very inside yourself, but always very outside, watching what's going on the whole set. Otherwise, you could be good for you, but it won't be on the movie because it wasn't good for the camera.
Yeah. You want to be
Shooting.
seen, don't you? Yeah. Yeah. You want
Eh,
your work to be seen, for what you're doing, right?
I think this actor, he was like he had such a sense of timing
Mm,
when everybody was ready. He wasn't insecure of doing his best. He just let it was doing with, because sometimes we do to the camera now, like we perform, and he was doing with. He was there, and when this great photographer, he felt that he was warmed well, and he was the best moment for the traveling, for the light, for everything, and then he did his best.
mm. Yeah. It's
I learned from that.
Yeah, it's funny. Like when you see people do what they do, and you're going, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? No, don't worry about it. It's part of my process. No, yeah, but you know, but I'm just trying to help. No, you focus on you, and I'll focus on me. Okay.
And it
Yeah.
was nice to see him working. It was
Mm,
very nice to see how he didn't was worried about if he would be in the best of his acting, but if the camera was ready, the whole set was ready for the best,
mm.
because then will be the scene. Otherwise, he would do it, and maybe it won't would be unuseful.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think just hearing you talk about that, just I just you've got to just let it go,
Let it go.
and
Yeah.
you have to just be like,
Yeah.
okay, okay, we're safe. You say to your
Yeah.
body, don't worry, it's safe. We're gonna probably say some things that we wouldn't normally say. We're gonna do some things that we don't normally do, but trust me, it's all safe.
Yeah.
It's for the art, and most
It's for the
importantly,
art.
it's not real. It's not real. Don't worry, don't. And then by the end of today, we'll never have to do this again. So just don't worry about it, and your body goes, okay, you got a deal. Let's get there together. Mind,
Yeah.
body, soul, whole thing, etc. You know,
The others, because it's a thing you do with others.
yeah. And I think obviously enjoy it, but make sure you're looking after yourself more than anything. You know, that's the important thing. And speaking of a full body experience, brings us very neatly to Prima Facie. So, anyone who's, again, I've talked about this show many, many times on here and will continue to do so. It's a show about a young lawyer called Tessa. She gets into the bar. She comes from a working class background, and she gets into she gets into the bar. She's doing really, really well for herself, and she defends people in sexual assault cases. Like I said in the intro, something awful happens to her one night, and she then uses that experience to highlight where there are flaws in the legal system, and again, to quote the play, how something has to change. And we continue this conversation to this very day until that happens. But anyway, so your first encounter with this play, when did that happen?
Mm, I was looking for a play, a new project.
Hmm.
And then I called a friend that lives in London. He's an actor and a lawyer.
Hmm.
And I asked him, I never did that before. It was the first time. I asked him, well, I'm very curious about London. I had been there the next last year, 2 years ago, with Daniele. He directed a show, Cirque du Soleil show, and the opening was in London. So we went there, and I was like, oh my God, it's the here theaters is everywhere and so good. So I called this friend and said, what do you think would be nice? And he said, it was the first thing he said. He said, prima facie.
Mm.
Prima facie, prima facie. And I said, what is it about? And he told me, "Oh, well, read it. Read it." And he didn't tell me at that moment, but he also had mentioned to a Brazilian actress. He only said, it's a great success here. And I think you'll love it. So the first thing that I was interested, because he only told me it's been some actors around the world are doing it, and then was my first feeling, because as I perform in many countries in many languages, and then when he said that, I said I had an identification already, something that is going on around the world or many countries. And then I received in first in English, I think. And then what I love it in the beginning was the rhythm, because Susie Miller, she writes in a way that she wants you to say it.
Mm.
It's so good because
It's like spoken thought, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, and she cuts the phrase when she wants. It's like a rap in a way, prima facie. I don't know if the other play is like that, But Prima Facie, if you read, it's very like poems. Then you cut, 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 cut. She separates phrases with the beginning. I say in Italiano, ma in ebollizione, il sangue, the blood, in the exact point of ebullition. I don't know how to say in English, but the fever point.
Yeah, like,
But she separates. She goes like the blood at the right temperature.
oh yes. How does it go? Thoroughbreds, every single one, primed for the race, waiting at. Wait, give me a second. Keep the blood at just the right temperature, just below
Just
boil. Yeah,
yeah, just
yeah,
below boil. Exactly. And when the blood just below, and she separates when she wants,
yeah,
and it gives you a rhythm. Because at the beginning I was memorizing the thought, so I didn't have to cut it where she was cutting. But then Daniele came and said, "I want you to say the way she does because she's
go
telling
against
us."
the script, against
And
the
I
rhythm.
couldn't believe it. I said, "No way." He said, "Yeah, so try to memorize
You
with the
can't do
rhythm."
this to me.
It was the first moment because then we have other little fights, but that was the first one. I said, "How
Hey,
can I have to me to memorize?" And I mean, you cut as she cuts the phrase. And then my first good impression was that she was giving us the rhythm, and then the architecture. What
yeah,
she tells you in the beginning, she will use the second part in a very intelligent way.
yeah,
And it's also hard to sometimes you have to make it a little bit less long because it's in Italian it became very long.
okay.
But it's hard to do it because everything that she tells you here she used there, so it's hard to take off some parts. So my first impression was the rhythm.
Yeah. And of course, it's the story as well. And of course, when you speak it, like when you see something written down, it's like when you see a poem for the first time, something you think, no one talks like that. What's going on? And then suddenly you speak it out loud again and again and again, and then you hear the rhythm of it, and then suddenly you're going, oh, yeah, this is how we talk. And I think we always talk in a rhythm, and everyone's got their own rhythm, of course, but it's not. Yeah,
Yes, and also because she gives you, I think, at least three voices.
three voices.
Three voices. Like for me, was what was singing was that, but the voice, your inside voice, you're thinking. Then what you want to tell to the audience, and then when you talk to someone, the narrative, the text allows you to play like this, because sometimes you are just thinking, as Tessa. Sometimes you are talking in the present with someone. Mama, my brother is sleeping. Where is him? He went again. Now you are talking to, and sometimes you are telling the audience. Then I will go there and I will meet someone. So I separated for me and three, and then you can speak more in an intimate way when you talk to yourself. When you just say, he was getting close and I wanted to vomit and I didn't feel well. It's more for you, but want to explain to them and said his hand was in my mouth. And then when went
High
to
above
talk,
my head. Yeah.
so I sort of, I think she was giving so much as an author. Everything, I love it. It was there in the structure.
Yeah.
Because I'm this kind of actress, like I sort of look at the material and fuss and saying what I can do here to bring it to my word. So first was this rhythm. I don't go realistically. I just first I think about the resources I have physically and talking and what I can make it special in some way. So I thought that I could work with this three modulation. And when I talk to someone, when I talk to myself, when I explain to the audience, so it was fun for me to find this on the text. So as if you see my text is with different colors, and always when it's a thought or where I'm talking to someone. So I love it, and the rhythm that she was like, okay, let's go to the next thing. It's incredible. I mean, she told me she wrote in 2 days, and then she kept working on the text. But I mean, she did such a great job.
Wow, I didn't know that. But I know that I was lucky enough to be at one podcast recording that she did, and she spoke about how, hopefully, if memory serves me correctly, she said that if I had put it on as I had originally written it, Jodie would have been on stage, or any actress playing it would have been on stage for about 6 or 7 hours because there was just so much detail in there. But Justin Martin, the director, again, who's also been on here, was I think she in the theatre, I don't know what the Italian phrase is, but in the theatre they say sometimes you have to kill your darlings. You know, sometimes you get a part of a script which you're so happy with, you're so proud of it, but the director goes, look, it's really lovely, but it's not going to fit. And you're going, I don't want to get rid of it. I've worked so hard. I'm so happy. No, I'm sorry. It's got to go. It's got to go. And so she says, well, I don't kill my darlings. In fact, no, but what I do is I kill my darlings and I leave them in the car park. And then I go and pick them up later. So, and lucky for her because she wrote a novel version of Prima Facie, which is out now. Actually, I don't know if there's an Italian version that's been translated, but you know, if you get the chance, you know, it's like Prima Facie, but the extended edition. You know, and there's so much more detail in there. She spoke
Yeah.
about,
Yes. I have it. I have it with me. It's on my. I always sleep, and I said good night. But it's lots of information,
yeah, it's a.
different information, and more information. I didn't use it. I didn't read it deeply. I just said, "Oh, okay, I have enough. I have enough inside of me. I better stay with this."
Yeah, because you don't want to. Yeah, I suppose you don't want to overwork yourself because you've got more than enough on your plate with the play already, and
Yeah.
then you don't want to do even more on top of that. But
Yeah.
when you've got a break from Prima Facie, like I implore you to read the book, and I think it'd be a nice way of getting like the extended version of it, and of course you don't have to worry about performing it or the whole process of it, you know, at night or whatever. But yeah, she talked about how just that it's so much detail in there, but obviously you had to cut it down, you know, because
Yes, so much details. The
yeah, but
brother that was in jail and everything. I said, I prefer not knowing by now. And
yeah,
one day I will go through it.
yeah,
But now I think will confuse me a little bit. I mean, sometimes it makes you go deeper, but I think it's already so difficult sometimes.
yeah, yeah. Well, if you're performing it, don't read the book. Read the book later when you go on holiday.
You have to, it's 95 pages with this
Yeah,
in very from like lawyers terms that we don't use, you don't know usually. So it's already wow.
yeah,
But as I said, it's so beautiful to see. And I told Susie when we met, she went to Rome when we were making our premiere in Italia.
yeah. I saw the pictures. Yeah,
It
yeah,
was so nice to see her, and she was glad. I mean, she was so curious in the beginning, I think, to see what Daniele had done with her story. Because as a clown, she said, "I can imagine what would be his point of view." Because she went to see in Australia his Circus du Soleil production with Theo, which is the death of a clown. So you go on the funeral of a clown, but it's very funny and delicate. He's a very sensible man. So it's so beautiful. You go in these dreams of this old clown, and he's remembering the women he loved, his mother, his friends. Very Fellini, like Federico Fellini.
Mm.
stories. And she was in love and said, I have to see what he will do with Prima Facie because I can't figure out. And then I think she was very happy of what she saw in terms of the acting, I think, because she said that I was changing so much from the beginning and the second act. She said, oh my God, I couldn't say it's the same person. And because of the pain and the way she was changed. Now Tessa is changed.
Mm-hmm.
Of Daniele's work, she was very surprised of how come he could translate in a very poetic way. Not so because we have like papers that fall down from the ceiling all the whole time. We have shoes at the end that fall. We have this working table that goes around, and you have this balance for the moment of the violence. Very creative scenography.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. But I told Susie that what I love the most in the play is that we have a character that goes in a contradiction.
Mm.
And I think actors love it, and directors love it, and audience love it. When you see someone that's not this or that, it's totally in doubt.
Mm.
Because sometimes we reduce, and sometimes American movies sometimes reduce the character as good or bad, or and Susie Miller, she found a way of doing this in a contradiction character. So
Mm.
you follow a character that changed position
Mm.
totally, and for the audience, it's a gift
Yeah.
because you allow them to see from one point of view and then from another point of view. So first you see from a lawyer's point of view, defending the system, and then you see as an individual person that when you feel alone, abandoned by the system. So to see someone in this perspective, it's so interesting for the audience, I think, and she makes you be curious the whole time. Now, how come a woman can defend a man who did that? And from the beginning, you just
Mm. Yeah, I love that phrase, a character with a contradiction. Yeah.
yeah. She loved, and I told her she loved. She said, "Oh, yes, I think I did that." I said, "You did it." When you see, like, if you see what Joseph Campbell the philosopher, he thinks about when he explains to you of the journey of a hero that usually they use in the cinema,
Right.
someone that has to go out of his house to go in an adventure,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe he had to sacrifice so that he can come back transformed.
Mm-hmm.
Principle, more or less, of on each story, no? That someone has to fall to learn something and come back home. No, the principle of, and then if you put more elements that will make it difficult, this journey, you have a stronger character.
Mm. And I think,
And I think that's what she did. She did, and for the audience, we follow someone intimately. You go close to someone. At the beginning, you think you take you to one place, but then it changes everything.
yeah.
And this contradiction, someone that says something and then is confused, doesn't know anymore what was the correct way. It's beautiful because it makes you to interrogate yourself, and the whole audience will interrogate themselves.
Mm. Yeah, and of course the shifting of perspectives, you're 1 minute you're speaking to like you say the audience, or you're there in the scene with Julian or Mia or Adam, and there's a shifting, and then suddenly you see it happen in real time as well. You see her talking, and then she just like does that look to the audience, and then it's like you're part of that universe. You're part collectively of that performance and that
Because
changing your
yeah,
perspectives. Yeah.
and we as individual, as people, we always we have the same doubts, but we never say. Sometimes we want to people to believe that we know what we are doing, but we never know it, exactly.
Yeah. Is
And then
that
she exposes this because in the beginning, when she tells Alice, that she's like a taxi driver. No, she has to do what she has to do.
it's the cab rank rule? Yeah. You don't pick the cases. You just take what arrives. Yeah.
And then when after the moment with Julian, and then she gets the taxi driver, and she tells her, I can take you where you are
We're
telling
doing
me.
airport rides today. Yeah. And it's like, well, excuse me. It's like,
You
I
have to
guess.
do what you have to do.
Yeah.
He says, not now. It's my taxi. I
Yeah.
do it. Maybe is what she should have done in the beginning when she was doing. I have to do what I have to do. Probably this Tessa will never do the same. And she would said, okay, let's see if I want to get this case. I believe on this case.
And also, she there's a line where she says, "You're doing a lot of sexual assault at the moment." I said, "Yeah, it's the cab rank rule. We choose the cases, they pick us."
Yeah.
And it's almost like the warning signs are already there for her.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's beautiful in this writing.
yeah,
The signs are all there. When the girl then asks her that she used to the stagiaire that she was talking to with Adam, she says, we will remember some people that worked with us, and this girl, Sophie, I don't know if it's this.
oh yes, when she says,
And
"I'm not doing this to get anything out of this. I'm only doing this." No, what did she say? I'm not
she
doing this.
asks the client if he did it, if
Yeah.
he really
Oh
did.
yes,
And
yes, of course.
you don't have to ask anything. You don't have
Yeah,
to know. Our job is not no, but it's not no, not
yeah,
to know
yeah.
at the
It's
end of
lawyer's
the
job is not
thing.
to know.
No,
It's to not know. Yeah.
no.
And she
And
goes,
Italian,
did you do it? I pull Sophie to one side. What the fuck are you doing? It's like, what? That's none of our business. Doesn't matter.
doesn't
And
matter. You don't have to know
yeah,
the truth. What is the truth? But maybe it's more complex than that. And she will realize afterwards. Not wrong or right what she's saying, but probably it's more complex. The
yeah,
system, it's a little more complex. The ethical position where, so it's so beautiful that Susie puts this taxi driver and this girl, and then
symbolism is
and it's and
amazing.
things that she is explaining that at that time she says, okay, I'm sure what I'm telling you, our job is not know, but not to know. But afterwards, maybe she will arrive at the end of the play absolutely transformed.
Yeah,
And she
yeah,
would say, I know what I think.
yeah.
Doesn't
And
matter if the system is like this. I say my own voice. Now I know.
and again the contradiction there. She believes that there is no, we can't tell the real truth. We only trust the legal truth and what the system tells us to do. But ultimately, it's the system that lets her down. It's something that, and again, it's another line in the play where she says, after what happens with Julian, she says, "I see everything, my life, I built my career, everything in this moment." And then suddenly, and I guess it ties into another line which she says is, "Legal instinct tells me this is a losing case."
Yeah.
And
It's
she goes through everything. Had you slept with a defendant before? Had you invited him to your home? Had you think about, okay, what witnesses do I have? Waiter at their restaurant, Uber driver, gelato server, all these people seeing us laughing and having a good time. And then suddenly she turns around and goes,
yes, you picked a moment was hardest. The hardest moment for me to memorize was exactly this moment when she made these questions. What about my career? Everything I built it. Because it's the catharsis moment of the character now. It's the moment when she's putting down everything. It's
yeah,
falling down. Like, how come I'll be the same person after that?
yeah. And yet,
He's losing all the I mean, everything that she believed is falling apart in that moment.
I mean,
It's hard.
imagine,
It was.
yeah,
It's hard.
it's almost like she. So an image just came into my head now, which is like imagine she's forming a fine pane of glass that goes like the ones you see on the church door or something on a church roof. She's formulating this pane. It's so beautiful. She's built it and built it and built it and built it and built it, all from humble beginnings. And then suddenly one moment happens, and it's like someone just from out of nowhere, a a glass expert, someone who she's been desperate to please the whole time, goes, "What do you think?" And they pick up a hammer and they smash it right in the center of it, and it goes and clatters to the floor in a million pieces. And I can't imagine what that must be like across anyone who's desperate to get into any industry, whether it's the law, whether it's into archaeology or architecture or
Everything.
acting or anything or in media based. You build yourself up, and suddenly you realize the system which you worked for doesn't care. And I can't imagine what that must do, because especially to get to where she has gone, and suddenly she's gone, oh, the law is, and again, another line says, the law is there to protect everyone. And of course, she realizes it's not.
It's such a strong effect in the audience, no, and in ourselves as a performers, because it's so beautiful and tragical at the same way to give up everything you believed until now, because from there you surely burn. She will be. I mean, she will. A new Tessa will be born. You know,
Yeah.
and it's so beautiful. But to arrive there, she has to almost die, all her
Yeah.
beliefs. So that's why I think it's so profound, and it's not only about the justice; it's about everything. Once in life, probably everybody felt like this. Or if you get a divorce, or if you lose a job, sometimes you just feel unprotected, you feel abandoned by something. And it's so nice to see the reconstruction, the rebuild, step by step. And when she loses at the end, again,
Very sad.
it's so unfair for the audience. They can't believe it. And the way she says something has to change. I do that in the end, and I think from abandoned and destroyed and losing, I suddenly get happy again, because I said I'm sure something will change. I mean, as a character, it fulfills me again. If I go there and I say, how can I just leave it, the room? How can I stand up? How? I just ask the audience, help me. How can we
Yeah.
do it after that? If you
Exactly.
were me, with which legs can I go out of this room? But when I say, okay, but I'm sure, and then I think of all the actresses doing around that somewhere in these 48 countries that are hearing this,
Yeah.
somehow, at some point, will change. And then this shoes comes that from the ceiling.
Yeah.
The,
In your
they
one,
are,
yeah.
like, if I feel the many women that are with me fighting for this. I don't feel that only the victims, but I feel that they are there. They are
Yeah.
there. We are together,
They
and
are there
then
with you. Yeah. And
it's a very.
of course, they're the interesting. I don't know if contradiction is the right word, but the irony. I think. I know this is something I've spoken to about with Cassandra Woodhouse, who did it in New Zealand. She said 1 in 3 women, but then when you look out into the theatre or in the NT Live via cinema screens, I know it was beamed around the world as well via cinemas. You're speaking to 1 in 3 women, but you're also speaking to 1 in 3 men, 1 in 3 perpetrators.
Yes, Daniele tells that a lot, that our version, it's he did it for the men, because the women already know what they want and they how things go, you know. But and they have to talk about it. And I think it's happening. I think it's so beautiful that I read that in UK and also other countries, Prima Facie helped to sensibilize somehow. Some judges have to read the
Yeah,
book or the
in
play.
in
I
Ireland they have to watch the recording as part of their process.
And I think
Yeah.
in Switzerland, for example, after watching Prima Facie, there was a group that they came together to be a group that, inspired by Prima Facie, will go and very strong parts of society, like police officers, judges, and everybody, to put them together. Because sometimes you have in some countries that you already have the law, already have the police station where they will talk to you, but together they don't work together.
Mm.
Things are there, but it's not working because it's not working anywhere, because you still have so many violence against women. So in Switzerland, their goal is to put together these pieces that are there. Now that they have to talk to each other. The law have to talk with the police officer, they have to talk with the association of women to see if together things get better. So I think in many countries it is happening, and it's nice. And the men, they are starting talking about it. I remember after the premiere,
Mm.
this man came to me. I didn't know who he was, and he was saying to me, "I promise you, I will never do it again.
Fuck.
I promise." And he was crying. And I think she's doing something. I mean, this place really changing. But I wanted to tell you only one other thing
Yeah,
uh,
please.
about our creation, is that, as I told you, Daniele, it's very original, and he wanted for the violence scene. He
For the moment, yeah.
the moment with Julian, then he didn't want something very realistic. He always finds some metaphorical idea, and he had with the scenographer, um, idea of having an object, acrobatical object, is like a balance, which has to do with
Yeah. There
this.
was a guy literally moving you
Yeah.
around the stage in different circles.
I
Yeah.
have this man. He's always there with me because things are a little bit magical. When I say we are drinking vodka, there's a vodka in my hand. He's there in a figure, in a black figure, black costume, and things appear around. So he's always there. And that moment, I say I will. I went to the restaurant, Japanese restaurant, with Julian,
Hmm.
because the scene before, I go in front of the stage, and there's a red thing, and they are behind preparing this thing, this object. So when this the red curtain goes out, we see the object. Then I see there, and I said, we went to the Japanese restaurant. It's an object that makes me go up and down
Hmm.
and turn. So it's like the experience when you are a child, you are playing with your cousin, and you are enjoying doing like this thing that goes like this, and he says, "Oh, okay," but he starts doing faster, and then you say, "Stop," and then he continues. You say, "Stop, stop, stop! I'm afraid," and
Yeah.
he continues. Yeah. So he invented something like this. So in the moment, I said, "Oh, okay." So we went home and we were drinking wine. It was such a good red wine, and it was going fine. And so he goes like, very in a nice way. I fly and I go up and down. But suddenly, when I say, and now, I said, "Stop, stop, Julian," and he puts his hand on Tessa's mouth, and then he's going fast, 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 fast. And so, for the men that are there, I think for the first time they comprehend what is to be in
Mm.
a woman's
Of course,
scene.
and again, I can't speak for this, but this is just my reading of it. Is that so? Do correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like when you're in a situation like that where you feel where it's fight or flight, where you feel like your life is being threatened, and suddenly a million and one thoughts are going through your brain at a million miles an hour, and you're going, but ultimately you're thinking, how can I get out? How can I be safe? how do I make myself safe? And sometimes, and I think the majority of the time, your brain just goes, run,
Yeah.
run, and it's going, come on, run, 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 and again going round and round and round and round and round and round in circles. Which you put that mentality on the stage for everyone to see as well, and I think really hammered home just this is what happens, not just
Yeah.
to the inner monologue, and it's not, it's almost like another perspective in a way. And no, it's three, yeah, the inner perspective. It's highlighting the inner perspective of what happens in that moment, you know. And yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. I was going to ask you about the reactions which you got from this thing. You've shared one with me already, but you mentioned earlier about you just wanting to just hug everybody and let's have a communion. Let's all just stay together. Let's all do this. But what other stories did you hear from this thing?
No, it was hard in the beginning to memorize. I mean, I had memorized the text, and we were rehearsing in a rehearsal room, but I was stand up, and it was easy in a way. But
Yeah,
when I was in this thing, object, and then it was very hard to keep doing the text because your coordination, it's hard to tell your
yeah,
body to do something and say something different.
yeah. I bet it's going,
I
what? This,
wasn't.
I don't remember this. I don't remember.
I was jumping and going up and down. So I have to rememorize as if I were laid down, even though if my body was going up and down. But I said myself is I was stable in my head. I'm stable and in a bed, and things are happening. But so I get very concentrated not to let my imagination goes out of this, but my body is doing another thing because we are going in that circle. And I think again, how do I protect myself? Is like I tell a story, and I have to be clear enough for the people that watching it. So I have to keep it in a certain way, even though if I go inside to put myself in the position of Tessa, I always have to measure no, to be clear for them, and that's the way that helps me not to go too much. And but it was dedicated. I have to tell you that was I had to memorize, and sometimes I would close it. I said, okay, enough for today, and then do it again. And but now technically when I finished this going around this object, and then when things finished, that I started saying, but he's not there. How come he doesn't? I don't know in English, but I'm afraid if he's not the same person. So the things stops,
Yeah,
and also this feeling of being a little bit like this helps me to be very fragile.
yeah,
So when I stand up again and I said I go to the bathroom and I take the shower, and that's this piece, this part that you said that it's the main important. It's
it's the main event. Yeah, but
very delicate because it's the main question. And what do I do with my career? Because look at me,
mm,
what I'm doing here, and what should I do? Do I let him take it everything from me, and or will be a testimony in the tribunal with this father and Adam? Maybe he will be
mm,
defended by Adam. So it's delicate. Sometimes, as an actress, you thank that you got this because you have to arrive at that note. Like if it was a musical part, no, you have to arrive at this.
mm,
So you get sad in a way because it moves you things, but in another way you get happy that you touched the right note that you should.
hmm,
If it was a partiture, now like a singer or a
yeah,
instrument, that you said you get happy that you said, okay, I did it, even if it's so down and so delicate. But you get this state of sensible, but at the same time you said, I reach it what I plan to do, what I've been training to do, has to be that. So you get very concentrated, and then starts the second act, and again, it's very nice to follow each step, entering in the trial, and then remembering the police station, and then going again, and then Richard that arrives, and then it becomes very cinematographic, no? The second part,
Definitely.
and then it's nice to, and then when the final scene, when she talks with the audience, with very sincere and defending herself, and there I think it's freedom, because I don't have to jump or turn anymore or do the things that Daniele invents. I have there, and then we talk. And I always want to ask them, do you think 1 in 3? Look, please look. Yes, you're right. Yes, they are one of us. One of us. And then, no, when she says, once we see, we cannot, don't see it anymore.
You can't unsee it. Yeah.
But when I say, can we? It's for them. And then I feel this exchange. I receive, and then I see that that the theater is like,
yeah. I mean, it's that's a moment, isn't it? And I think I said this before, but like when you see it on the filter of a cinema screen, of course you still get the same reaction. Of course you get something. Of course you do. But I was very lucky a couple of weeks ago to be able to see it live. I saw Jodie's final performances in Liverpool a couple of weeks ago, which was
very strong.
very, very, very lucky, and shout out to the people who got the tickets for me and were there with me that night as well. And there's something about seeing it live, which, like anything, you see things differently, you experience it differently. You're there with a community of people, and when that moment happens, like as I mentioned now, the Vardia moment, where she says, I stand at the bar, and she says, when a woman is violated, it's a corrosive wound. It takes over the mind, the soul, and, we have got it all wrong when it comes to sexual assault, but somehow or another, I'm paraphrasing now, but something is still not right. There was, and then she mentioned there was a time in this country, in the UK, where non-consensual sex in marriage wasn't considered rape. If you wanted it, you just had to just accept it, and thankfully now that has changed, but there's more that needs to be done as well. But the point I'm making here, but seeing it live, when she says, particularly that moment, there was women around me, I could hear the crying, I could hear the sobbing, I could hear people. Possibly, there was a beautiful couple sat next to me. It was the first time. I said, have you seen the play before? She said, no, this is our first time. Our first time ever seeing this play, after 4 years of it being out and about and doing the rounds and clips on social media and YouTube and etc. But somehow I don't know if they saw it previously, but they managed to avoid all that, and they've seen it live for the first time. And I thought, and the sobbing and the crowd and everything, and some women, and I've spoken about this before as well, that they probably wrote cards to Jodie, which I know she put on her social media a few times. People have written in via email or shared their stories on YouTube, who have been through something and never found a way to articulate it. I'm sure you had these experiences as well. That they'd see you after the show, or they'd write Jodie a card to say, X, Y, and Z happened to me when I was this age, and it's taken me X, Y, and Z years up to this point now to finally talk about it. And
you feel the audience, you feel when afterwards that people want to hug and stay there to say hi and everything. And we feel when someone is very, had an experience, we feel this woman, they arrive in a different way. And I think because of that, Susie Miller asked us to have an association, a female association, that people could call if they have this feeling very, I mean, they can find some help anyway. If it's very strong, they cannot, I mean, we have to be responsible because we are sometimes making, remembering, some bad moments for some women, So at the end, it's so beautiful to see the way some of them come and say thank you, even though it's hurting, thank you, and others that come to say we will fight for it, and or the men that come. It's the first time I felt as a woman. How could it should be for a woman, or I've never thought would be that like this, or sorry. And there was a lawyer also that came to me and said, I'll never be that kind of lawyer again. I think he was saying maybe I defended some because I have had to, but I now I know I can choose, and maybe I won't do it. So you hear, and then they write a lot, saying I'm still touched, and it was so strong experience, and I think this brings us a sense of community. In Italy, I'm feeling this. In Switzerland, Italian Switzerland, because we live in Italian Switzerland, and the company is there, and there was such a success of Prima Facie. So I think it makes we say sorellanza, sorelle, sisters. We all become sisters.
Yeah.
And it would be nice. I have to thank like Jodie, and also the Brazilian actress, and also the Australian, all the actors, because they were I mean, Jodie was the second, no, or the second actress, I think,
I'm
that
the
did.
second one to do it, yeah,
And,
officially, yeah.
and so I thank them all, because each one of us that came after, we got some perfume from them, some smell, some they give birth to her first. So we sort of learn from each other. I'm sure there is this kind of fraternity and love between we all that are doing this with such a generosity, to feel that we are together. It's like a movement. I think it's a
Oh,
movement.
100%, 100%, and again, and Jodie's she won an Olivier Award for it, which is like the Tonys over here in the UK. And she said, there was a big that word again, sisterhood, which you must said there. Backstage, it was not just her and Susie. It was the stage management. It was Georgia Bird. It was the stage manager at the Harold Pinter Theatre in London, at the Richmond Theatre, at the John Golden in New York, and all the theatres that they went to on this latest tour, finishing at the Playhouse in Liverpool, a few weeks ago. It creates a community of people. I've met so many incredible women, just, through social media, and of course meeting people actually in Liverpool as well, who traveled great distances to see this play because they had a story. And this play helped to get that story out and get them to talk about it. And and I just feel very, very blessed to not only, and I am in love with this play for many reasons, not only because it's an incredible story and it's an incredible opportunity for an actor to deliver one, hell of a performance, but it shows you how theatre can just create, when it's done right, when it's done with the quality of this standard. Like, I'm sure, I haven't seen your version, but I'm sure it's of a very, very high standard, but it shows you again, and I've said this on here many, many times, and I'm gonna keep saying it. It changes the fucking world. It changes the fucking world for the better, and that's what we want to keep bringing. Now, I'm going to ask you something which I've asked all my Prima Facie guests so far, so you will be included in this as well. Who is Tessa to you, Melissa?
Tessa is a woman that came from let's say, a simple background. In our version, she's from the Latin neighborhood of her country, and she has to fight so much to study and to be there with the other ones, with the Benedicts and everybody. And then she had to trust in herself a lot. And sometimes to do it, you have to find some strongness that doesn't allow you to see some details, because you have to do it. You don't have choice. You have to perform well. So when she falls, it's the first moment that she can open her view, her point of view. And then she'll be very transformed. So I think, again, it's a woman that goes in contradiction, accepts her contradictions, and tries to change the word us. She had to change herself.
Very good. Very good. You know, she's been described on here as a fighter, a warrior, and just like, and I would probably add to that, it's like the guts that she has. She puts the system on trial, and you know the courage and of course there's another brilliant scene with the mother. I know we were talking about sense memory and stuff earlier, but you know there's a moment before and at the end, which was a couple of moments which another got a really, really strong reaction from the audiences, you know, from what I've read and also what I experienced in Liverpool as well, which was says my mum hands the scene where she goes, my mum hands me a sandwich, strawberry jam, the taste of sweet jam on soft bread, and she says she gives her this spiel which is, don't let the bastards get you down, even if they get away with it, you don't let them ruin our Tessa. And that is like a springboard to get her that.
I'm having sense memory now. I guess.
Yeah. And there's another one as well, like right at the end, and I know this line affects a few people as well, but you know I've got to say it because of what the support that it gives. The verdict is read, and she has I've been a defense barrister for I can't remember the line so much, for a long time. For a long time, yeah. You know when the jury come back quickly, you know somebody's not guilty. There's a roar from Julian's crowd, and there is clapping, and it just rips your heart out. And
His
friends are
clapping,
wow. Shaking hands, defense barrister shaking hands, all that stuff. And then she has a bit of a thing, and then she says, I see my mum. She goes, come on, love. You know, and obviously I say it in my southern accent here in the UK, but it'd be like, come on, love. Come on, like, let's, and just that imagery, if you delve into that, it's like, you've done your best. You did what you had to do. Now, come on, let's, and it's just a little simple thing. There's, come on, love, let's go. Are you hungry? And I think that would be enough to make anyone just fall to pieces and just cry.
I think, as I told you, the mother is so special.
Oof,
I mean,
yeah,
the t-shirt thing.
yeah, a pink polyester shirt. I don't know if it was the same in yours as well.
Yeah, it's a 100% polyester. That she says, I won't wear this. This is not a lawyer's. I mean, it's my mother's way of saying that she's proud of me, but I will never use this. And then at the end, she goes with that thing, wearing that thing, because she accepted who she is. And then the mother that has this purse is to go to the beach, was her gift for her to go to
bag,
the beach.
yeah.
And then she comes and she could be embarrassed, but she won't be anymore. She could be embarrassed because she's wrong. I mean, it's not supposed that she should come to this thing with the father of Julian, probably super well dressed. And her mother, it was wrong. And so beautiful when the mother says, come on, let's go. And in Italian we say, su, tesoro, andiamo. You know, and before she said, and then Richard tells my mother to stand up, and she gets her purse. And then I always said, the wrong birth in my head. No, but you are beautiful. You are beautiful with the wrong purse. I love your wrong purse as I love my new shirt and my new blouse because I'm transformed. And that's what makes voir dire so strong because it's her voice. And no matter what they think, that's what I think. And I give the value that I want. So I will decide if it's now granted to do this or that now. But as you said, it's so strong because she's putting the system under her, let's say, under what she thinks is more important than the system, because the system doesn't deserve anymore belief. She doesn't believe anymore. And it's so much about ethic. And I think that's what Susie Miller is talking. It's clear that, okay, we have the system, and the system is a system of ideas and laws. I remember my lawyer friend, she was telling me, teaching me, that is a system. Like if you do this in a certain way, you have this, you'll be judged by this way. If you do in a different way, you'll be, it's a system of decisions and laws that they decided. But which part of this is alive? Because at the end, we are talking about our lives. And I love when Tessa says, we don't, in Italian is we don't put we don't doubt of the law. We never doubt. But we are exhausting the victims. We keep making questions. We don't know, the law rests there. We don't insist if the law is this, but the person is being judged. The victims are being judged of the behavior, what they did, and what she's trying to make us see is that this part is organic. The system has to be organic. The laws has to be organic. Has to change. They have been done by old men.
And I remember speaking to someone about who is a lawyer, who teaches law now at university, and she said that is exactly what you said there. It's like an old boys game still, and there's like a community at the top. Hear no evil, see no evil, that sort of thing. It's very well protected. It's like we formulated these ways once upon a time, and we're going to keep them that way because that's what makes us feel comfortable. Does that mean we're still screwing over everybody else? Yes, because it makes us feel comfortable.
We still protect. And when sometimes Tessa thinks a lot if she will do it with him, but it's my friend, he's my colleague. I will destroy his life, but we'll keep protecting until when?
Yeah.
I know we stop and we see that I cannot do it. I will destroy him. But how can we change this if we don't do it? And so I think it's very complex. So we have to work also in the prevention. And I know they have this project, the School of Consent.
Schools Consent Project, yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Because we have to work with young people, and we are doing in Switzerland as well. And next season that we will keep performing, they will be all the schools and all the universities. They want students to see it. Because we cannot just talk with ourselves, people that agree. We have to find prevention and work. It's so important what we are doing. I think the more we exchange, it's so beautiful because we can. There's no frontier now. It's really have to expand this movement. So I thank you for this initiative to talk to the Italian word of Tessa. So we get in, we give hands, we exchange the hands with each other for this.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. I thank you for sharing everything you have with me today. And just want to get in quickly. Just got a few more things left for you, Melissa, then we can finish up. So, I remember in New York on the last performance, someone was recording like the post-show celebrations and stuff because I think at that point everybody thought, okay, that's it, it's done. We'll never see Prima Facie again. But what Jodie's incarnation of it anyway. There are other versions that went around the world and stuff, but like the original one that drew in the world's attention to it. I think that was they thought maybe that would be the last time, and of course it wasn't. They came back recently, but James Bierman walked out on stage, who was the original producer of the play, and he gave a little speech to the audience, which is to say, look, we've worked with the Schools Consent Project, but the big thing that we want to do now is we want to teach our young men about consent and how, and of course there's shows like Adolescence and stuff on Netflix. I don't know if you've watched that at all, written by Stephen Graham and Jack Thorne. I don't know if it was dubbed in Italian for you guys. I'm sure it might have been. Young men as 12, 13, 14 being exposed to pornography and generational trauma, which they're not fully aware of yet. And there's a respect for women, which has come on leaps and bounds, don't get me wrong, but there's still, like, again, in the play, there's still more to be done. There's still more to be done on this. And, I think with the Schools Consent Project and everything, the work that they're doing and what this play is doing is teaching so many people about consent, and not only helping people with their stories, helping women with their stories, but also helping men to realize, and that women are not disposable pleasures. They're human beings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so beautiful to hear you
Yeah.
just saying, and makes me think so many things. In Milan, when we did the premiere at Milan,
Mm.
so beautiful because I don't know what now. Every time we perform in different cities, there's the lawyer, the president of the how do you say the lawyers association. They always they ask for 10 minutes to make a speech.
Hmm.
And we did it everywhere. Now, every time there's some authority that wants to talk to the audience,
Hmm.
sometimes you say, okay, it would be a little bit boring for the audience, but we allow them because it helps in a way that people talk about it. So in Switzerland came these two men, but in Milan came this culture assessor of the community of Milan, the city of Milan,
Right.
with an editor of a magazine, and they asked us to make in the opening, men's manifest. So we printed this thing, and they said that all the men in the audience should sign to say that they are together to change something, and to ask for the government to give classes of consent in the schools. So always when we perform, we take this manifest, and at the end of the play, the show, men are in line to sign. And it's so beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful things I've seen. I mean, a line of men saying, okay, we will do it, because they have to talk. Now you have to talk around, and one man to a young man, as you said, is the only way, because a consent is not an easy thing to know. You have to explain. You have to explain that it can change in a minute, in a second.
Hmm.
And they have to talk about why for some men it's okay to feel rejected, and for some others no. It's a cultural problem, and I'm reading some feminists, a nice one, Bell Hooks, it's American feminist, that she says a lot that it's between men and women, because sometimes the mothers, we don't let our sons to be afraid of something or sensible. We also, the mothers, we try to be sure that they will be strong, and they won't be in contact at all with their feelings. So we have to change that as a society, woman and man. But men had to take, in hands and talk with the young.
Yeah, because there's again going back to adolescence just very quickly. I think there's a sense that the opinions of women, sadly, that they were the butt of jokes and of and people say, oh, casual misogyny, ha 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 ha, that's not funny.
It's not.
That's not funny. That's not funny. And thankfully now we're having these conversations and things like that. And of course, again, Prima Facie, we're having these conversations where we can start to talk about these things, and things can start to change a lot more positively. And again, that laws and like journalists, like culture people, are coming to see your thing as well, and giving the opportunity and all those men to stand in line and say that we respect this, and I think, and this might be an odd example. I want to get this in is that I saw some footage not so long ago of it was in Berlin, and they back in 1993, and they just screened. I think I mention this because I think this is something similar to what this play has done over the course of history, and again, how art changes the fucking world. And I'm going to keep saying that because it's fucking true. Is that so Berlin 1993, they just screened Schindler's List in the capital for the first time, and they filmed some of the reactions of people walking out the cinema, and some people are coming out. I remember there was one guy who just saw the cameras, and they were like, so what did you think of the film? And he just walked straight past them, didn't talk to them, said nothing, just walked straight past them and just ignored them. Other people coming out going with their heads in their hands going, and they're going, that they didn't have the words. It was like that they were shown a part of their history, which I think they were scared to look at. And of course, what happened, what the Nazis did, they did what they did, and you all know what they did. And suddenly from that moment on, it was like a change in. You could tell it was like a shifting consciousness in amongst that crowd who saw the film that night, and they're going, and they go. Some people like, unfortunately, I think some of them are like, no, didn't happen. No, that's just a very embellished way of putting it. No. In other words, you don't want to accept the truth as such. You're scared of the truth. It offends you, and where some people like the shift in that, I think it was quite a huge moment, I think, to screen that film in Berlin, and of course at the time, 50, it's still, I know it's a bit of a long way, but it's still quite fresh, 50 years after the Second World War was over. And, it was still very much in the memory of things. And
It's nice to think about it, to have a positive thinking that maybe you are talking about 50 years, maybe some expecting less in 2 years, things will be changed a little bit, because the new generation, they are more aware. The new generation of women, they are a lot more aware about the different types of violence, that it's not only sexual, but it could be psychological, financial, and everything. So they are aware. So they say, okay, I won't stand to that. So they are more prepared, I think. But that's, again, there's so much guilty and shameless. And when we talk about this theme with the old generation, so it's a lot about why, because sometimes I see when we after the show, and some, as I told you, always, or someone comes to talk to the audience, authority or lawyer, or they do debates. This panel with different people from university, from always important people that are working with this. And the last one that we did, I think, was at Torino. There was this woman, and she she really believed that things will change soon, and I want to think positive. But when the things arrive in tribunal, it's already too late, and it's so hard to tell this woman that because the amount of women that arrive in tribunal are so it's just a small number. It's just a few women, because the majority don't go, are afraid of going, or want to protect the husband because it's the father of the kids and everything. Now it's so hard to see the whole process. The woman that's being violent will go to denounce. Now it's only a few. So I always see in these debates that people spend a long time talking about this woman that should go. And I think it's a long way until that, from the moment it happens. And I mean, it's only a few women that will go. So we have to work not only on this, talking about the system, but a lot in the prevention, young men. And because to take these women to denounce will be, I think will be, we have to learn to, because by the moment now we still feel very guilty and very embarrassed to go there and say it happened
and tell their story. Yeah,
because maybe you cannot back to your house. You leave your kids there and you go to then you cannot come back, and what you do is so complex. But we still have to tell them, okay, go, because if we all go, it will be a crime and everybody will know, and they won't do it because they know if they do it, they will end badly. But I know this is special thing is not clear for the woman by now. So I see we talk a lot about that and the way that it arrives in tribunal, but I think the way to do it, we have to talk a lot more, because we still want to protect men. And we have to just help each other to say, go, I stay with you. But or sometimes we think, oh no, just my friend will do it, but I won't do it because I'm embarrassed. Or it's so complex.
yeah.
So we still have to push them to do it, but we have to give all the support, because it won't be automatically.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. It's you know what? You've just reminded me of something. On the I'm not sure if they did this on every theatre, but I know they definitely did it in Liverpool. Was outside the Playhouse, they put a big sign up to say, like, to give some facts about some of the stats that have been recorded about, and people who have experienced this, and also people who haven't told their stories, or how many people tried to get their stories heard but were ultimately thrown out. So I'm just going to read you this little passage, if I may. So just so this was on the front of of the Liverpool theatre, and I'm sure they did it amongst others as well. So yeah, here we go. So this is what it reads. 1 in 3 women aged 16 and above have been raped or sexually assaulted. Cases take on average 2 years to complete in court, with many taking even longer. 11,918 of sexual offence cases are currently waiting to go to court. 71,227 rapes were recorded by police in 2024. And by the end of 2024, charges have been brought in just 2.7% of these cases, fewer than 3 in 100. 2 in 5 rapes against women are carried out by their partner or their ex. 6 in 7 rapes against women are carried out by someone they know. 5 in 6 are raped because who are raped don't report the crime. 39% said they didn't think the police could help. 35% thought it would be embarrassing. 25% thought the police wouldn't do anything about it. 24% thought the police wouldn't even believe them. I mean,
It makes me think a lot about myself, because if you think about numbers, it's terrible. But we don't have to look at this as numbers, but as ourselves. our friends, our sisters, our cousins, because change. Now, if you think we are talking, don't for especially for some groups, for some men, don't hear that as if we were talking about numbers. Hear about as if it were names of friends of you, because we're talking to ourselves, and I put myself in this position, and I say, why? What would I do? Would I be courage enough? Have courage enough to go to there and to so we have to support and respect the difficultness that is doing the report, and you have to pay attention on that, because I love when Susie says that if only 10 women arrive in tribunal in one win, 9 are not they are not lying. You don't have 9 women that are lying. There's something that's wrong, something really wrong in the system. Now, and it's beautiful that you have this is and the theaters. It's I'm sure for the audience it's so important to realize what happens, and but again, always saying, okay, it's not far away from you; it's by your side. So to just say, okay, numbers, no, people, their names, and close to you, and then makes you feel you want to change it, because it could be your daughter, could be your wife, and sometimes it's so complex. I think you have to work in every and put together everything, like the law, the difficult of the women to report, the prevention with young guys, to talk about sexuality, which is a taboo. Now, why? Because these feminists, they say sometimes that because the men, and they have to work so hard, and they cannot they talk about emotions or feelings, then the pornography will give them a compensation that is sex.
Yeah.
And the pleasure in a special way. They deserve, because of this, they deserve that. But then again, it's not a body, as you said, it is just a body, it's not a person. It's this body of woman that should give this pleasure. And if we don't talk about it, we won't find a solution. And I think, again, it's men and women together to find the solution. And I think so many men are starting to think about it. And maybe we'll just get something has to change, something has to go forward. And also I love the idea that Susie puts also a woman that is free. And because also we cannot go backwards, we have to start from there. The woman that wants to decide if she wants to have a romance or the way she wants. I mean, we do not, because also this is it's a big issue, you know. The freedom for the woman to choose what she wants. So it's nice that Susan puts this kind of woman that goes there and can be her friend, and then brings more complexity to the character and to the way we see women.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful to talk about society and laws and the organic part of this between individuals and society. There's something in the middle that has to be reviewed. Otherwise, we'll be talking with old ideas.
Yeah. And we're part of that movement.
It's part of the movement.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just brilliant. It's just brilliant that this is happening. I've just got three more things left for you, Melissa. And first of all, thank you for being so generous with your time today. I really do appreciate it. I could have you here for another 2 hours just talking about the play, but I'd love to do another one with you at some point. It was still we have so much more to talk about, so I'm sure we will continue this conversation in the future.
Yes, I would love
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah, I'd love that. That'd be amazing. But just yeah, three last things for you. So first of all, what what will Tessa leave behind for you?
Personally, what should
Yeah, so playing the character, what has she given you, and
Mhm.
what will she leave behind?
I think the courage of changing myself.
Mhm.
I have to have courage to change your ideas and say start again,
Yeah,
and to get naked in front of yourself.
yeah,
Say I'm not this anymore, and it's hard to do it.
yeah. It's
But
hard.
you find a lot of freedom when you do it.
Yeah,
You suffer, but then you reborn. So I think she gives me this power,
yeah. I like it.
courage of breaking in and then saying, okay, I will rebuild myself,
Yeah,
my own voice. It's so special.
yeah. I, that's very true. Your own voice is so special. Yeah, amen to that. Amen to that. Now, just before we get to the last two questions, I had an idea. I just wanted to say something to you in
Mm.
Italian, but I had it all queued on my phone, but now thankfully it's deleted itself, so bear with me. Okay, so Google Translate is helping me with this one for everything you do. Now, okay, so just before we finish, I'm sure I'll say this towards the end, but I just want to say this, just say not only for today, but also the amazing stuff that you've done for people around Italy and stuff. I was like, grazie per tutto, quello che fai.
Che bello! Grazie a te.
Yeah. Yeah, which
Grazie.
means thank you for everything that you do, and
Thank you.
it's brilliant. And finally, so yeah, two last questions, two quick questions before we finish. First of all, what would you say was a bit of advice you wish you heard when you were starting out?
I think it's to value yourself.
Hmm.
I mean, people always tell us to believe, ourselves, no? But if you study a lot, if you think you dedicated yourself to some technique, and maybe you deserve, and your first jobs, to put that in your mind also, because we're always sort of insecure in the beginning,
Hmm.
and if people want to pay us not that well, we accept it because we said, okay, I'm learning. But I think we should. I would give that advice that didn't nobody gave to me. Is that you have to also value the time you spend studying. If you studied a little bit more, not comparing to someone, but comparing to what you think you dedicate yourself, you can sort of value yourself in a nice way. Because we have the tendency of saying, okay, I accept. No, just because it's a job, it's a technique being an actor. And if you learn, if you really dedicated to this technique, you deserve to be recognized.
Yeah, I agree. And finally, today, you might have answered this question already, but what would you say has been an experience or experiences you've had in your career up to now that you'll never ever forget?
I will use Prima Facie because it's amazing what's happening now. It's so important, and I would remember always. I think because I met Susie Miller in the audience. I performed, and when I finished, they opened the light, and I saw her.
Mm.
So it was, and now is the thing I will never forget that she was there, and she came in the stage with me, and met ourselves there in front of everybody. It was fun, knowing the mother of the baby in front of everybody, and we were hugging each other and saying, how nice to meet you." And I said, "I am so emotional," and we couldn't wait to close the curtain to talk a little more intimately, with some intimacy. But all the shows of Prima Facie, they have been fantastic, and I respect so much this audience and the way they hug me and they treat me so well. I'm receiving so much love. And I thank you, all the actresses, and I thank you all. I include you in this team that the beginners of this. So I think we are continuing something you did, because we must do it, because we must do in many languages. But we are together. We are part of this. That's the way I feel. Because I know that in Brazil there's another actress doing right now. And I think the same time when Jodie was doing there, and this last tour I was doing, and the Brazilian was doing, and I think we sort of can hug the hands of each other and to say to everybody, okay, let's look at it together. And so I'm very thankful. I'm very in love of this moment, and being responsible of what I'm doing, and also grateful for everybody that are exchanging with me this process, with this the responsibility, with these eyes, and I see everybody's eyes so touched. And these last days also the translator, she came, and because she's from Torino, her eyes, I'll never forget. She was like, said, we are there, Melissa. I knew you would do it. You are doing in Italian. People will hear this. And if someone will do, I don't know, we are already 48, but imagine more and more. It's so beautiful. It's a movement, and really hands together. It's exactly what, it's so magical, and it's exactly what you have to do to be together.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And it feels great to, we talked about Prima Facie going over the international, and to speak to yourself today, who's part of that international movement as well, has been an immense pleasure. And not only just talking about the play, but talking about the method stuff, your inspirations to get to where you are right now. And I'm sure I would love to have you back, and we will continue this.
Yes, Oliver, I would love it.
Yeah.
So I will tell you more things, and you tell me more things.
Of course.
And we have to keep exchanging.
Of course we will.
The word gets, no, the language cannot be a limit
No,
for this
definitely not.
play, for this idea. So when we think, we're given, as you said, a message of peace, because it's about peace. It's about a better world. So we have to go beyond the frontiers, and just together. It was a dream of Isadora Duncan, this dancer that I performed once, and her was that. It was like people that, because the dance, there is no words, so
Yeah, it's
people
all movement. Yeah.
understand each other without words. So I think we are dancing together with hands together.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful for them, to exchange in English, because it's from there that we heard about. We started in Australia, but it's from UK that we started. Okay, there's something going on there. Let's pay attention, and let's be sisters and friends, and let's take their voice all over. So that's what the way we feel. And when yesterday I was giving an interview in Brazil, and they were asking me about the Italian version. And it's so beautiful. Imagine you are talking about England, Italy, but it's so far and so close. So let's keep dancing together, and we will. I'm sure we will tell me more things, and I will tell you more things. And
Yeah, we definitely will, and I look forward to it. Melissa, thank you. Thank you so much. This has been an absolute joy, and again for being so honored, so generous with your time and everything. This has been an honor for me. So thank you so much.
honor for me too.
Yeah,
Thank you.
brilliant. Thank you. If you just hang on, I'll finish the recording. We'll have a debrief, then we can shoot back to life. But yeah, brilliant, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This has been the Uncensored Critic podcast. I'll be back very, very, very soon. And let's keep dancing together. Let's keep this going, and let's make a change. And Melissa, until next time, grazie mille.
Grazie a voi.